So, hi everyone. I'm coming here on Friday, the 20th of October, on the day that was pronounced the International Palestine Day. And today, as a means of protest and solidarity with the Palestinian people, I didn't go to work today. I told my manager this morning that because of this day, because of this protest, I will not be coming into work. Uh, they said something absolutely amazing. It's you can already at first glance say that if someone is of a younger or an older generation, because my manager I think is younger than me, and they said yeah, that perfectly fine. That's a very noble cause. You do you. Just stay safe and things like that. So that was really, really remarkable. Being so understanding is something of a. It's a kind of thing that should be. Is this kind of thing that should be normal for everyone, but because it's not, when you experience something normal every once in a while, and a whole multitude of abnormalities, you're like, wow, you're stunned and you're pleasantly surprised because you're so used to noticing or having this kind of sensation that everything you do is wrong or no one agrees with you and things like that. So yeah, and on this day, this specific topic is one of those topics that makes, to say the least, friendships break. And this is something I really wanted to talk about for a while now, and I just didn't have it in me. I mean, the information that's been coming in is so devastating and heartbreaking that I didn't find the capacity to sit down and speak my mind, other than saying on TikTok that I've had enough of this world and it's absolutely fucked, and that I want to pronounce it game over on my part, and that I don't want to play anymore in this world, in this life. I didn't ask for it. I didn't ask to be here. I don't remember signing any contract before I was born, or when I was born, that I would, you know, that I would participate willingly in this absolute shit show that is the world today. But yeah, here I am, and I do feel sorry that I didn't do it earlier, but I'm doing this now, and on this special day, day that I think I'll remember for the rest of my life. Yeah, but exactly what's this all about? It's about the genocide of the Palestinian people, performed by the Israeli government and military in Gaza, in Palestine. Yes, and this is something that needs to be addressed, that needs to be talked about.
Hello, I'm a Gazan Palestinian who live outside of Palestine currently. But my mom is there, my sister is there, and my two brothers are there. They are under attack at this point. They left our house because my neighborhood, most of the buildings there got demolished, wiped out. And 2 days ago, the Israeli defense minister, he ordered a complete siege on Gaza, which means no electricity, no food, no fuel. And he referred to Gazan people as human animals in front of the whole world. Contacting my mom every day is getting harder and harder. I want to check on her every second. I want to check on my siblings every second, but it's kind of an impossible mission at this point. Israeli forces, they bombed the main telecommunication companies in Gaza. They bombed mosques, journalists, children, women. They left nothing. And here comes my whitey friends whom are mostly Erasmus Plus volunteers and international students who always advocate for human rights. And they say to my face, "You provoked this." Really provoked what? 75 years of oppression? 75 years of occupation? Being held and live under an open air prison? And they always say, "Oh, we feel sorry for both parties in this conflict." I'm not gonna educate you all at this point. Everything is an open source, and you have brain. You're smart enough to check facts, to see information, to see history, and you're smart enough to not be manipulated by your own media and not be brainwashed. I see what you're advocating for all the time, and I call it a bullshit.
And the word about this needs to be spread all over the world. And people, I do feel, have a moral obligation to react to genocide, especially to genocide, not to mention any kind of injustice done on regular people, or on people, because not doing anything or staying silent, in my opinion, and according to the morality that I have, and I'm going to talk a bit about morality in just a sec. And according to my morality, neutrality is complicit. Is saying yes, not reacting to evil is letting it win. And ordinary, regular people are speaking out more and more as the news is more and more terrible. And somehow the reactions of governments, of companies, CEOs, is far from ideal, to say the least. Okay, basically everything boils down to money, and because it would break their it would make their profits not so big, they are not willing to take action to participate. But yeah, the involvement of the people, of CEOs and governments later on. Yeah, morality. A simple thing I want to address when it comes to morality. I've mentioned that according to my morality, silence and neutrality is complicit, and everyone who is not speaking out, in the very least, not speaking out, is saying yes to genocide, to injustice, to murder, to all the horrible things that are happening, as if they themselves were doing it. Because they might as well, honestly. And that's why this is so heartbreaking, because I think the world is divided into two. It's broken like a heart. It's broken into pieces. And the two biggest pieces are those who want to maintain their profit or influence, and regular people like me, who said, fuck my profit. In the very least, I can spare this one day to not go to work, and otherwise throughout all the other days, just at least speak out, spread the word, post and repost everything you come across on social media to make this more and more viral.
I will try to deliver this video to the world. Please do anything, okay? There's no one doing anything about what we are witnessing right now. This is the view from the window I am standing in the front of right now. Since 24 hours, we lost control with the outside world.
is going to be bombed next. This is like mentally we are not okay. Physically also we are not okay. Every single child, not only the children, every single person who lives in Gaza has a story. We are not numbers. I have a story. Basically, my home doesn't feel like home anymore. Okay? We are the victims here. We are human beings. We deserve to live. I have lived so many attacks on Gaza, and sadly, the world is normalizing this. Like, if you are a Gazan, you deserve this. But no, we don't deserve. But I have never seen such an aggressive attack like this one. Literally, there's no safe place. Like, this is the view right now. There is my house, sadly, and I can't know if my house is still stands there or not. I can't know. I am not in my house right now. I want to go back to my house safely. I want to continue living my life. What hurts that we don't know what this is going to have an end. We want to have an end for what we are. Not true. This didn't start on the 7th of October. This has been going on for the past 75 years. They are starting occupying Palestine by doing worse than what they are doing right now. People literally are dying, slowly dying. We want a solution for what is going right now. I am a child. I don't care about politics. I don't care about anything in the world. I just want to live safely. I want to stop feeling afraid of losing one of my family members, one of my friends, my house, my memories. I want this to stop. I will try. I will try to deliver this video to the world. Please do anything. Okay.
Because the news is terrible. Okay, but later on. First and foremost, some definitions. This is not the most important part, but I think just so that we are all on the same page here, okay? This is just so that we understand each other perfectly. I wanted to read some definitions from, in this case, from Britannica. All the links and sources will be in the bio, will be under this video. Everything will be mentioned, as I've said. But first, let's talk about anti-Semitism, because people who support Palestine in this genocide are being called anti-Semitic because they are against Israel. Well, newsflash, this is not anti-Semitism. Okay, from Britannica. As European commerce grew in the late Middle Ages, some Jews became prominent in trade, banking, and money lending, and Jews' economic and cultural successes tended to arouse the envy of the populace. The economic resentment, allied with traditional religious prejudice, prompted the forced expulsion of Jews from several countries and regions, including England, 1290, France, 14th century, Germany, 1350s, Portugal, 1496, Provence, 1512, and the Papal States, 1569. Intensifying persecution in Spain culminated in 1492 in the forced expulsion of the country's large and long-established Jewish population. Only Jews who had converted to Christianity were allowed to remain, and those suspected of continuing to practice Judaism faced persecution in the Spanish Inquisition. As a result of these mass expulsions, the centers of Jewish life shifted from Western Europe and Germany to Turkey, and then to Poland and Russia. Okay, this is a little bit history. I chose this part because I think it shows how widespread and were Jews at the time, and how widespread was the persecution. Because around that time, one of the popes even wrote an official document on Jews and Judaism, that Jews are at fault, and this has been continued to as late as 1994. The rhetoric that Jews are responsible for killing Jesus Christ, for killing God, and therefore shouldn't exist, are completely expelled from God's grace. And the 1994 act was from Lutheran, one of the Lutheran churches in America. But that was 1994, when the rhetoric that Jews have killed God and therefore are shouldn't have any kind of respect or anything, or shouldn't even exist, was still present in the Christian doctrine. And because in the Middle Ages in Europe, Christianity was the only actually religion that mattered, you have this notion that Jews were excluded and exposed, dealing with money lending and trade, because these were things that according to Christianity were beneath Christians, and someone had to do it. So the Jews took the jobs because they couldn't. I am broadly generalizing, but it boils down to Jews not being able, because they were not allowed to do anything else, to perform higher jobs because of the rhetoric that I've mentioned before, and so they went into money, into trade and everything, and that's when they began to be really good with money. It's because of Christians. So you have this setting in Europe of anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism itself as a term was coined in the early 20th century, I think, but quite late. So anti-Semitism, late 19th century, anti-Semitism related to Jews, and later adapted by the Nazis in their rhetoric and their research to Jews and people with Jewish genes. Yeah, let's call them that. So you have this anti-Semitism, which refers to Jews, Judaism, and people who may have Jewish genes. Okay? So Jews, Judaism, and let's call them that, Jewish genes. So that's one thing. Okay? So we now know what anti-Semitism is. Another thing I wanted to point out, the Semitism part, again, from Britannica, so that none of you can say that I'm choosing sources to suit my narrative. Semite, name given in the 19th century to a member of any people who speak one of the Semitic languages, a family of languages spoken primarily in parts of Western Asia and Africa. The term therefore came to include Arabs, Akkadians, Canaanites, Hebrews, some Ethiopians, and Aramean tribes. Although Mesopotamia and western coast of the Mediterranean, the Arabian Peninsula, and the Horn of Africa have all been proposed as possible sites of the prehistoric origins of Semitic-speaking populations. There remains no archaeological or scientific evidence of a common Semitic people, because Semitic-speaking peoples do not share any traits aside from language. Use of the term Semite to refer to a broad range of Semitic-speaking peoples has fallen out of favor. For this reason, some critics even encourage the removal of the hyphen in the anti-Semitism to help dispel any pseudoscientific notions of a Semitic race. They advocate instead of the use anti-Semitism to describe the hostility towards or discrimination against Jews as a religious or racial group. Again, religious or racial group. Okay? And the last thing I wanted to read is Zionism. Okay? So we have anti-Semitism, Semitic people, or Semites, and Zionism. And Zionism is a Jewish nationalist movement that has had as its goal the creation and support of a Jewish national state in Palestine, the ancient homeland of the Jews. Though Zionism originated in Eastern and Central Europe in the later part of the 19th century, it is in many ways a continuation of the ancient attachment of the Jews and of the Jewish religion to the historical region of Palestine, where one of the hills of ancient Jerusalem was called Zion. By 1914, there were about 90,000 Jews in Palestine. 13,000 settlers lived in 43 Jewish agricultural settlements, many of them supported by the French Jewish philanthropist Baron Edmond de Rothschild. Okay, so Zionism, a Jewish nationalist movement that has had its goal in the creation and support of a Jewish national state in Palestine. In 1948, the state was created. The UN proposed separating two states, Palestine and Israel, in 1947. Okay, the UN resolution was to separate Palestine and Israel. And that's what they did. Jews came in to Israel. I mean, we know already that there were a great many Jews living already in Palestine. So they come in to this state, and then a fucking massacre occurs. The Palestine-Israel War of 1948-49, where basically Palestinian people were expulsed out of Palestine, and all their territories were taken by the state of Israel. The Palestinians were left with desert-like lands, the Strip of Gaza. Okay, that in later years, Palestinians were pushed and pushed and pushed back continuously by Israel aside. So already since 1948, we have the Zionist movement fueling expulsion of Palestinians from their homeland, from their own territories. Already, as early as 1948, breaking international law, breaking the UN resolution to push Palestinians outside. Already being given loads of money from various countries, governments, etc., to support the cause of an Israel state, of a Jewish state of Israel. Is it really Jewish though? Judaism. In Judaism, you have this doctrine that Jews were them being expelled from Jerusalem, from Palestine, was the result of divine punishment. That they were supposed to leave Palestine behind, to disperse into the world, to be without a homeland. Okay? And until the Messiah came and gave back Palestine to them, they are not allowed to come back. Okay? This is what many Jews are saying right now. That Zionism has nothing to do with Judaism. I mean, you've already heard Zionism is a nationalist movement. Okay? And I think we can all agree that nothing good comes from nationalists. Each time nationalists rose to power, tragedy happened. Okay? I think we all know that. I think we can agree on at least this. Although, unfortunately, I do know some people that would not agree with me. Yes, in 2023, people who say that nationalism is better than patriotism. What happens when nationalists rise to power? People die. Simple as that. Innocent people die. And this is what is happening right now in Palestine. Innocent people are dying. The whole thing has been going on for 80 years, okay? Since 1948, Palestinian people were pushed back from their homes, from their country, breaking international laws. And what is happening right now is even more atrocious than you would ever think. Continuous bombings of Palestine, of the Gaza Strip, telling Palestinian people to leave. I mean, okay, if you haven't heard, so at least hear this, at least hear some of those of the things that are going on right now. Exactly now. 2.2 million Palestinians living in the Gaza Strip. Completely cut off. Every plumbing or sewage facility was governed by the state of Israel for 40 years now, or something like that. They have no right to do their own plumbing or sewage systems. They have no right to dig their own wells to have pure, clean drinking water. And that has been cut off by the Israeli state. They don't have drinking water. They don't have medicine. They don't have hospitals because these were bombed. And this night, 500 people, including, of course, children, because half of the population of Palestine were children. People under 18 years of age. Fucking children. And they are being targeted as well. Bombed, killed, mangled, crippled. If they're lucky. "500 people were hiding. It doesn't matter who believes in what. What matters is innocent people, civilians, have been hiding in a church, in a Greek Orthodox church in Gaza, and that church was bombed at night. And the whole church collapsed on top of them." What would you expect?
Let's talk about the Gaza hospital massacre, since Western media continues to blatantly favor the settler colony of Israel while reporting the ongoing Gaza genocide. As a lot of us have seen, the Al-Ahli Al-Arabi hospital in Gaza City was bombed, and because there were so many Palestinians seeking refuge at this hospital, attempting to escape from Israeli airstrikes, they literally don't know how many people have been killed. The estimates are anywhere between 500 to 1,500. There are so many body parts laying around, they're not able to count the exact number right now. That should give you insight to how bad of a massacre this was. Before the hospital massacre, we were already at more than 3,000 Palestinians killed by Israeli attacks. They're bombing a residential building, apartments full of families, striking them while they're sleeping. They've already wiped out more than 50 Palestinian families from the Gaza Civil Registry. Now, among the Palestinians who are still alive, they've been seeking refuge and safety in places like hospitals, under the assumption that Israel would never bomb a hospital, where the thousands of Palestinians who are injured from all these bombings are currently being treated. These hospitals don't even have space to store all of the dead bodies, so much so that they're having to use ice cream trucks to hold all the bodies. Up until today's massacre, Palestinian kids at this hospital were doing activities and parents keeping them distracted from all of Israel's bombings. And just like that, the hospital is bombed. The children, the injured, the elderly, the women, hospital staff, the doctors, nurses, massacred in the hundreds, if not more than 1,000. Just based on the footage that the Palestinians posted online, it's literally an open field of limbs, a mound of Palestinian body parts. And yet Western media still chooses to not call it what it is, a massacre, a genocide of Palestinian people, and continue to use these skeptical, broad, neutral language to describe what happened. Palestinians feared dead. What does that even mean? Feared? They are. Palestinians say. Palestinians claim. This is as passive as reporters can be. And now we have Israel denying that it was their rocket that hit the hospital, claiming it was a failed rocket from a Palestinian resistance group. Their prime minister, Netanyahu, claiming that barbaric terrorists in Gaza are the ones who attacked the hospital, not the Israeli military. And of course, because Western media is run by white supremacists, all these reporters and articles jump to give Israel benefit of the doubt and claim that maybe it wasn't them who massacred more than 500 people. All we see is neutral language like Gaza hospital blast. So now these reporters are researching the facts and doing their due diligence, doing their jobs as reporters to ensure that they're not spreading any misinformation, but last week had no problem blasting the narrative that Palestinians are beheading Israeli babies, raping Israeli women. Where was your due diligence during that time? All these politicians had zero evidence of these claims, baseless claims, and had no problem broadcasting it to the world, to the point where a 6-year-old Muslim boy in America was killed, stabbed to death by a white domestic terrorist, clearly in response to the language that's being spread about Palestinians and Muslims. And then publicly, but very quietly, retracting their statement. Oh, we didn't actually see claims of babies being beheaded. It's not true. Sorry, here's a little tweet about it. When the damage has already been done. You've already marked Palestinians and Muslims, telling the world that we're terrorists and that we're a problem that needs to be addressed. The media and these politicians have been nothing if not sloppy and messy about reporting what's happening. But now that it's being said that Israel has bombed a hospital, massacring hundreds of Palestinians, now let's take a step back. Let's pause. Let's make sure that we have all the facts. God forbid they ever say exactly what Israel is doing to Palestinians. They collectively broadcasted that Muslims everywhere, all over the world, are going to be partaking in something called Day of Jihad, instructing Jewish people to be safe when they're out in public because you never know what these Muslims are going to do to you. To where Jewish Americans on social media are claiming that they're scared to leave the house, and if they do, they're hiding their Star of David necklace because they're scared what Muslims might do to them. They're scared the Palestinians might find out that they're Jewish and attack them. The fact that that was so normally communicated to the masses, and it's all good, we're good. And what ended up happening? A Muslim kid was stabbed to death. They're reporting these headlines like it's such a crazy, outlandish idea that the Israeli military would bomb Palestinians in a hospital when they previously have bombed schools, offices of non-profit organizations. They've bombed electrical plants. They've bombed the plumbing system in Gaza. They bombed the only exit point out of Gaza into Egypt and threatened Egypt, saying that if you guys send aid to the border, we're gonna bomb your trucks. They instructed Palestinians to evacuate northern Gaza, to go to the south for safety. If you take the Salah ad-Din road to the south, you'll be safe. And what did Israel do? They bombed Salah ad-Din Street while people were escaping, and they continue to bomb South Gaza and are still bombing southern Gaza right now. So it's almost comical for these reporters to act like bombing a hospital full of Palestinians is so beneath the Israeli military. They would never do that. Despite how many leaders in the Israeli military, in the Israeli government, have stated that they want to flatten Gaza, that they want to give them hell. It's not a crazy idea to think that Israel would bomb a Palestinian hospital. We cannot let these racist, spineless reporters lead the media. We have to keep sharing. We have to keep talking, keep posting. For the most up-to-date, real-time footage of what's happening, make sure you follow Eye on Palestine and Middle East Eye. These are content hubs that share everything that's going on. And remember to keep sharing and keep praying. May Allah protect the people of Gaza.
As a Jewish person, I feel less safe around my Jewish friends who have posted Israeli flags than I do anywhere else right now. So take that as you will. Free Palestine.
American Jewish people are subjected to propaganda literally from birth that leads us to believe that we as Jewish people and Israeli people and the Israeli government has some sort of claim over Palestinian land. Who are they occupying? Doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. I am calling in. As Jewish people, we need to do better. We need to teach our children better. We need to stop lying to each other and lying to ourselves. And I need people like you to stop asking us to condemn Hamas when the Israeli government is basically the exact same thing.
The leaders of Israel should wake up tomorrow morning and step out of the Knesset and return the land back to indigenous population.
What you're saying is I must be a self-hating Jew because I don't support the oppression of Palestinian people. Because I don't support cutting off food, water, electricity to 2.2 million people in Gaza. Is that what you're saying? Because I, as a Jewish man, will never support an oppressor. And I don't believe Jewish people are oppressors. I believe the state of Israel is an oppressor.
Zionists are nationalists. It doesn't really matter which religion fuels them. Nationalists are evil. I am very emotional by this point because it hurts like a motherfucker. Innocent people are dying right in front of our eyes. Genocide is being committed right in front of our eyes. CEOs and governments have interest in Israel to succeed because, as it always was, the answer is money or power or influence. Doesn't matter to them that people are dying. And Israeli forces or politicians or diplomats are so far gone that they don't even regard Palestinians as people or even as animals. To them, they are less than animals, living in a huge concentration camp. Because that's what it is. People from Palestine have been told to move from north to south. Israeli forces told them to use designated routes to go there. They were told it would be safe to go these roads. Then what? And they have been given 24 hours to leave their homes again and move to the south. And what happened? Buses, ambulances, trucks, cars, people on foot were bombed as they were moving those safe routes. The Israeli government says that it's Hamas who is bombing their own people and blaming it on Israel. My question for this is, how did Hamas amass such a huge pile of money to spend on all these bombs? How did Hamas get all that money to bomb their own people? With everything that's been going on, with everything how Israel has been treating Palestinians throughout the last 90 years, how did they get all that money to launch and use a money worth of bombs that's more than the Americans unleashed in Afghanistan? Because even this, it just doesn't make sense. How would they have that kind of money? While Israel has the fourth biggest army in the world. Fourth most powerful army in the world is Israel. And you really want me to believe that Hamas had this kind of money to spend on bombs and on rockets, on everything, on military forces, on guns? That argument is so invalid. I mean, they think we're all idiots, I guess. And not only them. President Biden, without so much as blinking, practically in one breath, said that he personally saw photos of the Israeli children that were supposedly killed by Hamas. Only moments later, the White House tweeted that they never had such photos, and that this accusation is not supported by any kind of evidence. What in the actual fuck is going on?
I've been involved in politics for 40 years, but I have never seen anything like what is being unleashed in Gaza, in full public view, while the world watches it unfold. 10 days of relentless airstrikes, 1 in 1,000 people murdered by the Israeli government in a week, open declarations of siege, 24 hours of fuel, electricity and water left, collective punishment on innocent people, all illegal, all war crimes. And when the EU should have been arguing for a ceasefire, for the upholding of international law, for the protection of civilians, Ursula von der Leyen touches down in Tel Aviv to photo op the preparation of a genocide and says Europe stands with Israel now and in the days to come. How dare she? She has no authority in foreign affairs matter. She does not speak for me, she does not speak for Ireland, and she does not speak for the citizens of Europe. We stand for peace, we stand for justice for the people of Palestine and for the upholding of international law. It's long past the time that this woman exited the stage. It's time for her to go and for the International Criminal Court to investigate her.
So the debate is closed.
And everybody saw the news, but not everybody saw Twitter. The world is fucked. And it's up to the people to rebel against the capitalistocracy, against governments. There are means to enact change. The UK has had an official poll, a .gov poll, that once it reached 100,000 signatures, the government would have to react and would have to pull their support for Israel, because that was what it was all about. If enough people signed the petition, the UK government was supposed to stop the support of Israel. They got 124,000 by that evening. There are politicians that are speaking out. There are people in the world that are speaking out for the Palestinians. Palestinians are not the perpetrators.
I am a genocide survivor. Me. I am a genocide survivor. I was a child when the Bosnian genocide happened. But I remember it. I remember enough of it. I remember how it felt to live without access to water, to food, to aid, to electricity. My father was in a concentration camp alongside my grandfather and my uncle. My father is the only one who survived. My aunt was in a concentration camp. My grandmother was killed. Our homes were bombed. And I was shot at by a sniper when I was a child. And that's why I cannot stand by and keep quiet. Because I have dedicated the vast majority of my life in talking about genocide, not just the Bosnian genocide, but Rwanda, the Holocaust, current genocide, past genocides. I've dedicated my academic career to it, to learning about it, to understanding the historical circumstances, the stages of genocide, the dehumanization, the propaganda that goes into enacting a genocide. And I've often wondered, what would it be like had we had social media when the Bosnian genocide was happening? Would it have made a difference? Would my godmother be alive? Would my aunt be alive? Would my grandmother be alive? Would my grandfather be alive? Would my father be a healthy man? Would I be who I am today? And I've gotten my answers watching the ethnic cleansing and the genocide in Palestine. I have truly gotten my answer. The world would stand by and watch, just as they did the first time, even with the power of social media. I'm nearing my 40s now. I have a 12-year-old daughter, and she has thankfully lived a life of peace and comfort. And when I look at her face, I feel, one, immensely glad that she's safe, and also horrified and terrified about what the millions of Palestinian children are going through right now. The pictures that I'm seeing that are coming out of Gaza are terrifying. They are a direct mirror image of my own childhood. The bombs, the propaganda, the openly hateful and genocidal language. And people are standing by and they're letting it happen. In fact, they're encouraging it to happen. Now, please understand that I have, again, spent the vast majority of my life educating on various genocides, not just speaking about my own personal experience or the experience of my family, but looking at it in an academic and sociological context, studying it. My master's in sociology, I have a master's in genocide studies. I've worked directly with people who worked at the ICTY. My mentors are some of the most renowned genocide and Holocaust scholars out there. And they see what I see, which is that we are witnessing a genocide play out in real life. And very few are saying anything. Very few that matter. Those that matter. The people in power, who have the power to prevent this, who have the power to stop it, who have the power to ensure peace, who have the power to ensure stability and safety of every single woman, man, child in Gaza, in Palestine. If you stay quiet while this happens, if you're too scared to speak out because you don't want to face the backlash, just imagine how it feels to be a child without access to water, to electricity, to food. Bombs are flying over you every single day. You don't know where your family is. You don't know if you're ever going to see them again. Think about them. Think about those innocent children. And grow a fucking backbone. And do what's right.
The Israeli army and Israeli government and Israeli officials who have said on numerous occasions that Palestinians are dogs or human animals. They should be pushed to sea and drowned. That Gaza should be leveled. It's all there in the news. There are countless accounts coming in from Gaza itself, from reporters, from Palestinians, showing what it's like right now to be in Gaza. They're not even surviving. They're being killed day by day, a soul at a time. We are watching genocide happen right in front of our eyes. And it's not anti-Semitic to call on the Israeli government and say that they are killing innocent people. Because Israel is right now enacting something called collective punishment. So you have Hamas, and because the Israeli government wants to punish Hamas, they are punishing the entire populace of Palestine. That's exactly what they're doing. The Israeli, one of the Israeli ambassadors made it plainly and so brutally clear that once Hamas surrenders, everything will be restored to the Palestinian people and they would be free to go to Egypt.
Okay, stop scrolling. You guys need to see this.
Humanitarian situation
quote, will only deteriorate exponentially, and that crucial life-saving supplies, including fuel, food, and water, must be allowed into Gaza. So the UN is saying you must do this. You are saying you're not going to do this. How do you?
No, we're not saying that.
He's saying do it. He's saying doing it immediately. What I'm saying is what you're doing. No. He's saying doing it immediately. I
got you. I'll tell you exactly what we're saying. I'm saying we will do everything for the Gazan people. Once and now, we demand immediate surrender, unconditional surrender of Hamas. If Hamas people come out with their hands up and clear their weapons, believe me, everything will be restored to Gaza. It is Hamas in Hamas hands.
Okay, now I understand. Thank you for clarifying that, sir. I think we're actually on the same page here. You're saying that once Hamas leaves, you'll grant the Gazan people food, shelter, fuel, electricity, hospitals, schooling. And if they don't, and if Hamas doesn't leave, then they'll continue to starve and die in hospitals. You are defining for the international community right now collective punishment. You're saying until Hamas acts differently, the 2 million people in Gaza are going to be treated this way. And once Hamas acts differently, these 2 million people in Gaza will be treated better. That is exactly what collective punishment is. You're holding them accountable for the actions of others. That is the definition, the textbook definition of collective punishment, sir. Now, you may accept that that's what you want to do, but this is absolutely a contravention of international law.
Well, I'll tell you exactly. No, if we pushed them into the wall, we're not pushing them to the wall. We want to open a humanitarian corridor so they can leave. But if Hamas,
so that who can leave? Citizens? You're saying civilians can leave, but only through the Rafah border, correct?
At this point, yes.
So they can't come.
Where else?
Your country. They can come into Israel.
I'm telling you one more thing I want to say.
I want you to address that point. Don't just smile, sir. Respectfully, you're saying you're making a corridor. They can go to Egypt. You're bombing them. You say you want to save them, but they can't come in.
First of all, I'm not smiling. I'm crying in my.
So the guy's name is Daniel Ayalon, Israeli ambassador from 2002 2006. Very, very close to Benjamin Netanyahu. When I first saw that video, I couldn't stop thinking about the amount of evil that man had in his heart. Even to laugh about the suffering of the Palestinian people shows how dehumanized the Palestinians are to him. That they're not worth basic human rights like food, water, lights, fuel. This is Mark Lamont Hill. He's one of my all-time favorite activists, professors, scholars on foreign issues. He's been on Israel's ass from like the beginning, so this is not new. In case you guys didn't know, Mark Lamont was fired from CNN in 2018 for his pro-Palestine stance he had. So there's a lot to unpack here. I'm going to get into the media aspect in a separate video, but I wanted you guys to watch that, and I wanted you to see for yourself what evil looks like. They were actively trying to commit genocide to a whole population of people in Gaza right before our eyes. And what's even scarier is the people allowing this to happen. Silence is complicit. From the river to the sea, free Palestine. Because even if Hamas surrenders, Palestinians are not allowed to stay in their home. In their fucking home, where they lived for generations, where they have been kicked out as early as 1948. People still wore the keys to the houses around their necks, hoping they would come back. But unless governments do something, and CEOs pull their support, nothing will change. And we will read in the future in history books that a whole people has been wiped clean from the face of the earth. And we saw that happen. So where will you stand if that moment comes? On which side of history will you be? On the side of the people that stood by and watched because, I can't spend so much time on social media or reading the news because it makes me feel bad. It's bad for my mental health. It's supposed to be bad for your mental health. Do you really expect genocide to happen and you would be okay with it? Of course not. It's supposed to fucking hurt. It's supposed to fucking hurt like a motherfucker. And instead of hiding, you're supposed to be outraged. Because this is not how the world is supposed to be. That one people says, this land is ours, so we're just gonna kill everyone who's living there. Sup, America. Sup, UK. Practically owned a third of the world. To me, we have a moral obligation to react, to be the voice of the Palestinian people, because their voices are being less and less heard. Because there's less and less Palestinians left. And if we don't do something, there's gonna be none left. Do something. Write to representatives. Tell them. Make them pull their support of a nationalist movement running a country.
If there is anything that I'm grateful for in all of this, besides the fact that my family is safe and my friends are safe, it's the fact that the cap is off, has been blown off entirely. Because anyone who knows anything about this conflict, who is updated about it, who isn't just finding out about it now because some Israeli civilians were affected by it, knows how long it's been happening and how difficult it has been to talk about it. 1 year ago, I put up a video about how the names like Michael and Elian and all of these names that have El in them are from the Canaanite god El that was appropriated by the Hebrew religion and turned into or conflated with Yahweh, the one God. I had people sending me death threats in my DMs, emailing me, sending letters to my university demanding that I be removed from the program for being an anti-Semite. Because in the video, I just very briefly, just barely mentioned that what was written in the Bible is actually happening right now. In the book of Deuteronomy and the book of Joshua, God orders for the Israelites to go to Canaan and to kill them all, to destroy them all, women, children, animals, everything, everyone you see, destroy them, destroy their buildings, destroy their sites of worship. And that's what they do in the book of Joshua. They essentially go on to slaughter the Canaanite people and take their place. Now, more than the majority of scholars have agreed that this is not a historical account of the ancient kingdom of Israel. But I'll tell you, it is one powerful book of manifestation. Like, I feel that enough people believed in it long enough, like all of us, Christians, Jews, Muslims, anyone who believes in the holy books. It was believed in long enough for it to come to pass. And we're not exaggerating when we say that Israel's entire claim to the land is from that book. Like, a state regime is literally appropriating a religious people's book, identity, culture, is using it to rile people up to actually commit genocide. And in my video, all I said was that I'm not talking about 1948, I'm talking about the book of Deuteronomy. And when I tell you that a flood of Zionist bots came into my account, started spamming all my videos, calling me an anti-Semite, it was insane. I spent like 3 weeks literally scared to make a video, scared to show up online. Like, they started sending me messages saying, oh, we know where you live, how's Toronto, how's George, how's Brahim, like naming my family members to scare me, to silence me. And you know what? I was silenced. I didn't talk about it after that. And I know that there are so many people like me who have been so scared to speak about this for so long. And if there is anything good from what's happening right now, it's the fact that there is no more cap. We will not be silenced. And for everyone still saying, what about Hamas? Check your humanity. Seriously, check yourself. This is no joke. This is the New World Order. All the things that we read about in the books about Native Americans and how much has been hidden from us and how much we weren't taught about the brutality and the violence of our history, the oppression that was done to so many people of color around the world. It's happening. It's happening. It's happening right now. And we have the privilege to bear witness to it. This isn't the 1500s or the 1600s or the 1700s or the 1800s or even the 1900s. This is 2023, and we are all out here. So right now, if you have the privilege to be safe, don't look away. History is taking place before our very eyes. Watch it, record it, share it, remember it. I heard someone on here say history is not written by the victors, it's written by the people who keep the record. So keep the record of Gaza, keep the record of Palestine, because the Israel that you're praying for is already sharing photos about what it wants Gaza to look like once it's cleared out. When we choose to be silent or neutral in situations of injustice, we have given our voice to the oppressor.